You don't use the ordinary framework for headlines or blog by yourself, not the 4 tips, blah, blah, blah for better copy. Can you tell a bit about that? You see me doing headlines that don't conform to the usual 4 tips for that, for this. I don't use those headlines in my emails. There are times when perhaps I should have used them for my blogs. Like from the time I started blogging, I did some pretty unconventional and offbeat blog titles, and offbeat and unconventional is fine. But if you look through those posts, you're like, I have no idea what this is about. So I do think that, especially when it comes to blog posts, and if you're doing anything that's informative or authoritative and positioning yourself as an expert, it is a good idea to use blog posts, blog titles that tell us what we're gonna learn about in the post or what it's about. Now, when it comes to, so you can use those 4 tips for blah, 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 especially if you're going to do stuff like guest posting or recycle these as guest posts on a site, for instance, like Business Insider or Forbes or any of those sites where people are looking, they're browsing through the titles and they say, oh, I want to know that. So you want to gear it towards something they want to know. However, subject lines, I feel, are a different thing. They're a whole different terrain. Your email subject lines are a way to get someone to open the email, and that's it. And I think that depending on the business you're in, but most of the time, it is pretty important to communicate with people as if they're your friend and have them, you want as much as possible for them to feel like this is a personal note to me, or make it so intriguing that they can't help clicking on it, even though they know it's to your list. It's not to trick them, but it is to create an intimacy and make them so intrigued that they cannot help opening it. So if I don't know if you've downloaded my subject line freebie, that's a good way to get inspired to write just kind of quirky, intriguing, curiosity-based headlines that don't feel businessy and don't feel so explicative, if that makes sense. You can do the explicative ones, like 4 tips for blah, 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 and people will open it, but I prefer to make it just more intimate and intriguing and less businessy in the subject line. When I've worked on Marie TV with Marie, we've done we've created the episode. Sometimes it's based on a headline idea that we already have, or just or based on the question. Then we will brainstorm headlines for the blog post. Usually we want them to be keyword rich. I'm terrible with the keyword planner, but she's already usually done the research and said, like, here are some keywords that would be good for this. And we always want it to be intriguing. Sometimes it's alarmist, or sometimes it's like, oh, you can say that? It might be like, what if everyone in your family's an asshole? Watch this. So it might be something like that, or it might be like, how do you balance being in the moment with like planning your future? So it will be something like that. So we brainstorm a list of headlines or titles for the post, for the episode. Then we will brainstorm subject lines to promote that episode. Sometimes it'll be the same, or sometimes it has to have a little bit of a different feel, like what would work better in an email? What will catch people's eye in their inbox? And then we also brainstorm tweets and Facebook posts. So you have to think about the context and what's going to get someone's attention in that context.